Hello, good morning. I'm Matt Addison. David Lynch is with me this morning to take a look at the latest Liverpool news. We'll be talking, of course, about the win over Napoli last night. Mohamed Salah and Darwin Nunez both on the score sheet at Anfield. And of course, you can get your comments in as we go along. We'll do about 10 minutes or so this morning, David. So I suppose we'll start with the obvious, really. It was a win. It wasn't something that either of us predicted going into that game. Obviously, not enough to top the group or anything like that, but certainly a lot of positives to take for Liverpool.
Yeah, definitely. It just looked a lot more solid throughout. I know the goals sort of came late on and, it was a bit of a smash and grab in that sense. But I think just the general solidity of the team throughout the game was massively encouraging. And Liverpool, obviously, going back to that 4-3-3 formation. And again, as was the case with the other changes of formation, I don't expect that to be a silver bullet and suddenly it solved all of Liverpool's problems. But I think, going back to what they know will be slightly helpful as they sort of bid to fight their way back to the best form, I suppose. And I thought you saw the sort of green shoots of that starting to happen last night. Like I say, a lot more solid, just a more stable looking team. Everyone knew the jobs a bit better. And I think obviously this squad is sort of built for 4-3-3 anyway, so it's helpful to go back to that because you don't have obvious gaps in the team as well. And it seemed to work. And Napoli turned up, didn't they, with 13 games they'd won on the bounce. And at the very least, you would have said that Liverpool had deserved to take a point from that. So to have stopped that winning run was really encouraging, and to have managed their threats really well throughout. So like I say, it's not solved all Liverpool's problems, but it's a really good step in the right direction and gives you encouragement that things will start to get better.
Yeah, we don't know quite yet the importance of first and second. We don't know, obviously, what's going to happen in tonight's games. But as we said, going into the game, really, the main thing is that Liverpool got themselves through. They were never likely to go on and beat Napoli by the number of goals that they were going to need to top the group. But it's a positive, isn't it, that they managed to keep a clean sheet. They managed to do a number of things in that game that they haven't done up to this point. And after the first game against Napoli, to say that they got through with pretty much a game to spare in terms of obviously getting themselves through, not necessarily the order, it's not the worst thing for Liverpool to have come second in the end.
No, because you never know what the draw is going to be like anyway. There's so many times where you've seen teams have finished top of the group and then ended up getting an absolutely horrendous draw in the next round anyway. So it's not massively important given the way that some of the groups play out and some teams just sort of sneak through who you think would do better in the group stages. So it's not a massive factor, but I think it's for Liverpool to have got through anyway. In what was, a tough looking group. I thought Ajax would have done a bit more really than they have done in this group. I know people have spoken about them as if it was obvious they were going to be the third best team. And I certainly thought Liverpool would be better than them, but I also thought they put up a bit more of a fight, and I thought it'd be tougher to get through than it has been. So for Liverpool to go through with 15 points is, after the, like you say, the start they had, to be thrashed in Naples, 15 points, and the same that Napoli got. A team who, as Klopp has rightly described them as the form team of Europe, just shows they've done really well. And it shows that, even if things don't quite work out in the Premier League, and I think Liverpool have given themselves a lot to do in terms of getting back into the top four race, that Europe might be a route to some sort of success this season, and that, they can really sort of get back to the best there. And to go through with 15 points, that's a great European group stage campaign in anyone's book.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, a really informed Napoli team. I know they didn't have to go full throttle, but to keep them at bay as much as they did, I thought was really interesting. I think there's a few reasons for that, to be honest. I think obviously one of them is that Napoli knew that they didn't have to go out and go and score a load of goals, but a couple of other bits as well. We mentioned the formation. We'll come to Ibrahima Konate as well, who I thought was very good last night. But the formation first, you mentioned before that it made Liverpool look a lot more solid. It was back to the usual, really, the 4-3-3 that they know. That kind of seems like the way forward to me. I know it's only one game, but the 4-4-2 hasn't particularly looked solid. That very much did.
Yeah, I just think at the end of the day, some of the problems that exist and some of the problems we've talked about on previous podcasts in terms of, the options that Liverpool have got in midfield, the injuries they've got in the forward line, all those problems are going to exist whether you change the formation or not. And I think at least in this period where it's going to be difficult, you might as well just stick with what you know. And yes, some of the results are going to be bad again. I still think there are going to be issues going forward, because of those issues we've spoken about. But I think, just sticking with what you know makes it far easier to battle through. And it's not going to make everything perfect, but I just think trying to give yourself that sort of midfield base of solidity, which looked so much better last night. I think that is a really good starting point for Liverpool, and to do it against a team like Napoli, who made a couple of changes, and Lozano starting on the bench, Zielinski didn't start, but other than that, it was very close to sort of a first choice team. So to look as solid as they did against that 11 is a positive step forward for them, and I think shows that regardless of what happened, they probably do need to just stick with that 4-3-3 for now.
Yeah, Ibrahim Konate as well. We're going to mention him. Really good performance, looked really good, really solid. You'd imagine he'd stay in the team for the weekend. And I think he got a yellow card, didn't he? But he looked certainly a lot better than what he has done for a while. He looked a little bit rusty when he came back from injury last time, got the little setback, come back again. If they can get him and Van Dijk alongside each other, that's probably a significant upgrade really on Joe Gomez, as harsh as that might sound.
Yeah, I think one of the big factors that he brings, and it's not like Matip and Gomez are particularly slow, but Konate is just quicker than either of them, by quite a bit, I think. And I think having that in the back line when you're playing that high line and people are trying to exploit it with the balls in behind, it's just massivly helpful. There was a point at which Seaman got in behind, and it was basically a foot race between the two of them, and he just absolutely cleaned him out. He was there way quicker to the ball, and I think that's just really handy when you're coming up against those elite level strikers who, as well as having the touch, the shot, the control, they've also always got that pace and strength. But Konate's got that in spades himself, and it really helps to sort of defend in those situations. So I think Klopp has probably been keen to get him back in the team as soon as he could, really, because he's a massive player, and he made that spot next to Van Dijk his own towards the back end of last season. And I think, going forward, he will be the first choice in there. And it's good to see him back and good to see him performing well.
Yeah, good to see Darwin Nunez performing well as well. He was very, very lively when he came on. Comment on screen there, cameo was exceptional, and you'd have to agree. Obviously, again, we've said the word chaos I don't know how many times so far this season when he plays, but I'm not sure there's ever going to be a better word to describe him. Yeah,
he's absolutely crazy, really, isn't he? He just comes on, he's so involved all the time, and sometimes that's for better or for worse. I think in his, the start of his Liverpool career, there'd been some sort of patchy moments where he's looked a little raw, but then, saying that, when he came on last night, I thought all elements of his game looked really good. I think this is really, really promising. We said that the fact he gets shots away and he's always involved in moments is a really good sign for Liverpool. But I actually think he's starting to bring it all together now, and sort of some of his work in the build-up was really nice, taking the ball in deep positions, turning it out, passing the ball wide, and then hitting the box, which is some of the moments he's looked really awkward in the early stages of the Liverpool career. And I think, we're seeing that all come together now, which is really exciting. And then, a goal and an assist in sort of about 20 minutes on the pitch is it's just testament to how much of a handful he is, and the fact that opposition defenses can't seem to deal with his combination of physicality and sort of his movement as well. So he's got to be in the team, hasn't he? I think I think the one problem you would say about the 4-3-3 is it's not really obvious what you do with that front three at the moment, because your three options of top class level of Firmino, Salah and Nunez, and how you quite sort of make that mix happen and work is a difficult one. Maybe Klopp sticks with that idea of Nunez on the left hand side, and I think that's possibly why he started Jones out there, is because he wanted to have a look at that later on in the game ahead of Sunday, possibly using it on Sunday, and maybe he will stick with that because I suppose it sort of worked. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out and whether that mix quite works for Liverpool. But if you get Nunez on the pitch, then you've got goals and assists and a lot of threat to threaten the opposition there.
Yeah, I was really impressed with him. I love that bit where he just stood up the defender, went past him, and then put the cross in. It was just that decision making that I can't remember which game it was now, but there was one where he came on the other week, wasn't it? And just didn't seem to have that. Certainly, sort of had that quality in the final.
It was confidence as well, wasn't it? Because, like you say, decision making wouldn't have possibly been there in the past, but also he maybe wouldn't have backed himself in that situation. Whereas he just looked so confident when he came on yesterday, and if he's added the confidence to all the other qualities that we've already seen he's got, then that's going to be a potent mix.
Yeah, and of course, starting from a pretty good starting point in terms of goals as well. It's not like he's not been scoring. He's had that. It's now just the rest of his game to catch up. So, yeah, certainly a lot of promising signs there. You mentioned Curtis Jones. There was a bit of talk around him and how he performed last night. I thought he was okay. I don't think he was particularly brilliant or particularly poor. But what did you make of him? I know Jurgen Klopp said afterwards it was a position he's not particularly familiar with, which I'm not entirely sure is true. He's certainly played there a lot for the academy, if not in the last couple of years. But what did you make of his performance?
Yeah, but I heard Curtis speaking in the mix zone after, and he actually alluded to that. Sort of said that it is a position he knows well. He had played there a lot when he was in the youth teams, and so it was sort of familiar to him. So, but I thought like you say, not an outstanding performance, but I was kind of worried when he got selected there because I thought, he's going to get judged to the standard of Luis Diaz and Diogo Jota when they play out there, and people are already quite harsh on him, I think, in the judgments of him. But I think the fact he came in and did a decent job out there it will be good for his confidence. I still think there were a couple of moments where the crowd got on his back and he just felt a little. I just feel people are very harsh on him. He's still a very young player, and because he's been around the first team squad for such a long time. Sorry, I think people forget that. But I think, it's not going to be a long-term option to have him out there on the left. I think because his lack of pace is a bit of an issue in that position. But he is an option there. Maybe late in games as you're looking to shore things up, he can keep the ball. He's good in tight areas. I think maybe having Robertson on the outside of him would maybe help him a little bit as well. He's just that little level above Tsimikas, isn't he? So, he did well in difficult circumstances, which is why I think probably Klopp wanted to praise him is because he's put him into a position that while he does know it's a different ask at first team level, and he hasn't got quite that pace to do what is usually expected on that wing. So to come in and play, it was a decent game. I think that's why the manager wanted to sort of praise him, and hopefully it gives him options to get in the team in different ways, even if that's just coming off the bench late in games.
Yeah, he's very much another one as well that the decision making improves when he's got the confidence and he's got a bit of rhythm. So, yeah, fingers crossed he can stay fit and have a few little appearances like that. Just to finish on a last little point, obviously we didn't see a huge amount of him, but Calvin Ramsey, little Cruyff term for his first touch as a senior Liverpool player, he looked pretty comfortable on the ball, even if he was only on the pitch for 5 minutes. Yeah,
he absolutely doesn't lack confidence, which is a really good sign. I was sort of surprised by his build as well. Obviously he's a kid and you expect him to fill out a bit more, but it looks like he could ultimately be quite an imposing player. Which you look at Trent Alexander-Arnold and he's an absolute athlete as well, down that right hand side. So it looks on paper like a very sort of similar profile, and to be thrown into a Champions League game against that level of opposition and not sort of look flustered, that's, it's a small sample size, but really encouraging start from him. So it's just exciting for him to be able to get his Liverpool career underway, because it's been a difficult start, the injury really poorly timed and not being able to sort of mix with his new teammates and really show what he's all about. But, there's hopefully opportunities coming for him now. I think, before the World Cup, that Derby game, it'd be great to see him get a start in that one and see a little bit more about him. But early signs really good and exciting to see what he becomes now.
Yeah, a good couple of appearances for the under-21s as well. So hopefully he can build on that and can become a bit of an option for Liverpool in the future. But I think that will just about do us for this morning. Lots more reaction, of course, to come across the YouTube channel, podcasts, the website, all the rest of it as well. But for now, that'll do us. We'll see you later.